New Year is supposed to mean fresh starts, new chances, a clean slate. But for some people, New Year was the moment everything went wrong. What you're about to hear are 3 stories connected by one night, one countdown, and experiences so disturbing that the people who lived through them still refuse to celebrate New Year's Eve. Take a moment, lower the lights, and listen carefully, because the first story begins on a frozen road, just minutes before midnight. New Year's Eve in northern Minnesota is quiet in a way most people aren't used to. The roads stretch for miles without streetlights, just trees, snow, and darkness. In 2014, a man named Eric was driving home after a small New Year's gathering at his sister's house. Nothing wild, no alcohol, just food, conversation, and the kind of polite celebration you have when you plan to be asleep before midnight. Eric left around 11:30 p.m. The temperature was well below freezing. The road was covered in ice, but he'd driven it hundreds of times before. About 10 minutes into the drive, he noticed something ahead of him. First, it looked like a shadow. Then headlights caught it. A woman, standing directly in the middle of the road. Eric slowed down immediately. People don't just stand in the road at night in that area, especially not in winter. She wasn't waving. She wasn't asking for help. She was just standing there. As Eric got closer, he noticed she wasn't dressed for the weather. No coat, no gloves, just a thin dress, lightly moving in the wind. That was when he felt it, that tight feeling in the chest. The kind your body gives you before your mind catches up. He rolled his window down slightly and called out to her. No response. She lifted her head. And that's when he saw her face. Her eyes were wide open, too open, and her mouth was pulled into something that wasn't quite a smile. Eric shifted the car into reverse. That's when she started walking toward him. Not fast, not slow, just deliberate. Eric panicked. His tires spun on the ice as he tried to reverse, and the car barely moved. The woman suddenly lunged forward. Eric slammed the brakes, and the car skidded sideways. In that moment, his headlights fully illuminated her hands. She was holding a knife, not a small one, a long kitchen knife reflecting the headlights. Eric threw the car into drive and hit the gas. The tires slid. The car fishtailed. And then, thud. She slammed onto the hood. Her face hit the windshield. Her eyes locked onto his, and she started pounding on the glass. Eric screamed. Not words, just pure panic. The knife scraped across the windshield, leaving a long white line. The car finally caught traction and lurched forward. The woman rolled off the hood and disappeared into the darkness. Eric didn't stop. He didn't slow down. He drove until he reached the nearest police station. When officers went back to the road with him, there were no footprints, no blood, no sign anyone had ever been there, except one thing, a single knife lying in the snow. No fingerprints, no owner. Eric sold his car 2 weeks later, and to this day, he refuses to drive anywhere on New Year's Eve. People assume danger comes from bad decisions, from parties, from alcohol, but sometimes it finds you when you're doing everything right. The next story proves that even surrounded by people, you can still vanish completely. New York City on New Year's Eve is loud, crowded, overstimulating. In 2008, a group of friends rented a loft apartment in Brooklyn to celebrate the new year together. Music, food, drinks, nothing unusual. Around 10 p.m., one of the guests, a woman named Lauren, arrived late. She was a friend of a friend. Quiet, polite, No one thought much of it. As the night went on, people noticed something strange. Lauren didn't drink. She didn't dance. She didn't use her phone. She mostly stood near the windows watching the street below. One person joked that she looked like she was waiting for someone. Just before midnight, the group gathered to do the countdown. Everyone was there, including Lauren. 10, 9, 8, 7. Someone popped champagne early. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Cheers. Hugs. Noise. And then confusion. Lauren was gone. Not downstairs. Not in the bathroom. Not on the balcony. Her coat was still hanging by the door. Her bag was still on the couch. They searched the building. The street outside. Nothing. They assumed she had left quietly. Until morning, when the apartment owner arrived. He asked why someone had been sleeping in the spare bedroom. The group said no one had. Inside the room, the bed was perfectly made. Except for one thing. A single wet footprint on the floor, leading toward the wall. Not the door. The police were called. No missing person matching Lauren's description was ever reported. No security footage showed her leaving. And no one could remember how they met her in the first place. Every single person thought someone else had invited her. Sometimes people disappear, and sometimes something stays behind. The final story takes place far from cities, far from crowds, on a frozen lake, where the light still appears every New Year. In rural Vermont, there's a lodge that closes every winter, except on New Year's Eve. Locals say the owners keep it open for tradition. Others say it's because the light appears, whether anyone is there or not. The lake behind the lodge freezes solid every December. And every New Year's Eve, around 11:50 p.m., a light appears in the middle of the ice. Not a reflection, not a lantern, a steady white glow. In 1996, a group of guests decided to investigate. They bundled up and walked onto the lake. As they got closer, the light grew brighter. Too bright. One guest claimed they heard footsteps behind them. Another said they heard a child laughing. Then the light went out. Instantly. Total darkness. When the lodge staff counted everyone back inside, one man was missing. Search teams found no cracks in the ice. No signs of falling through. Just a set of small footprints near the center of the lake. Bare feet. Child-sized. The light still appears every year, and no one ever walks toward it anymore. New Year marks the passing of time, but some moments don't pass. They stay.